Yo, yo, yo. We are live here on Calcio Connection, and support for the Calcio Connection pod is brought to you by Manscaped. Manscaped is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming and hygiene. Manscaped is taking over the world and is now available, Jerry, in all of Europe, all of Canada, and I know you're rejoicing about this, Australia, where we have a lot of listeners, and New Zealand. Manscaped is trusted by over 2 million men worldwide, so join the movement for all of your below-the-waist grooming needs. And, Jerry, I will add that Valentine's Day is coming up, all right? February 14th, it's going to be here before we know it, a little bit more than a week away. And the way that I look at Manscaped, Jerry, is it's a really great product. The Lawnmower 3.0 is fantastic. You get the toner, the cologne, even boxer briefs that come with the kit. It's really sensational stuff. But it's not only a gift for you, it's really a gift for your significant other, right? Because your significant other may not want to have to, go through the Vietnamese jungle every time she's downstairs, right? So I think having the great grooming in the peninsula south of the equator, it's as much of a gift for your wife, your girlfriend, your significant other than it is for yourself. So I think that's one of the important things to remember about Manscaped.
No, absolutely. It's just an easy gift for her to purchase, basically, instead of having to go to the mall and just trying to decide what to buy. But you know what? Gets a pound off your back too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so, guys, Europe and Australia, because Manscaped recently expanded to new frontiers, new continents. Europe and Australia are about to get less hairy. That's right, folks. If you live in the EU, you can now purchase Manscaped products. If you live there, you've gone years without using the right tools for the job. And I know from firsthand experience, Jerry, if you use tools that are not designed for that specific area, you can get in a lot of trouble. Many years ago, before I knew about Manscaped, in fact, I'm not even sure if Manscaped existed at that point. Thank God they do now. I decided to do some grooming downstairs with the same trimmer that I use on my beard. It's not made for the skin down there. A lot of pain, a little bit of blood, a lot of screaming. It was not an experience I'd like to remember, and I've since learned my lesson discovering Manscaped. Manscaped has redesigned the electric trimmer. The Manscaped engineering team spent 18 months perfecting the greatest ball hair trimmer ever created, and they just released the new and improved Lawnmower 3.0. This is the third generation trimmer featuring a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to the advanced skin-safe technology pioneered by Manscaped. And Jerry, when I tell you this is premium, I mean premium. Not only is the blade a feat of modern science, but the battery will last you up to 90 minutes. I've had my Manscaped kit, Jerry, for what is it, about 2 weeks ago? We got our kit shipped. I haven't even had to charge it yet. Because I'm not hairy enough down there that I've needed like a full 90 minutes to get the job done. I've not even had to charge my lawnmower yet. The battery lasts that long.
You said you bought a machine that made you bleed. Where'd you get it from? The dollar store?
Walgreens. But it was,
Walgreens.
Yeah, it was something that I used to trim the beard and shave the head. The thing is, like, it's not made for the downstairs area. It's not.
No, it sounds like it doesn't do the job, man. It can't take a 9-inch hair.
And the waterproof technology also allows you to groom even in the shower. And one of the coolest features is the LED light. It illuminates grooming areas for a closer and more precise trimming. And they've also upgraded to a 7,000 RPM motor with quiet stroke technology. Let's not forget about the charging stand. Is really cool as well. You can show off your mower loud and proud because this intelligently designed stand is convenient charging dock powered by USB. So if you are listening to me speak right now, I want you to experience this firsthand for yourself. And guys, again, this is the perfect month. Maybe if your girl's not listening, your significant other, you can drop that hint like, hey, honey, Valentine's Day coming up. If you're looking to get me something, I heard Alex and Jerry talking about this great product, and we get you guys a deal. We get you a discount. If you're listening right now, you can get 20% off plus free shipping with our code Calcio. It's just the word Calcio, CALCIO. Get 20% off your order and free shipping at manscaped.com. And if you're watching us either live or replay on YouTube, you can see it on the scroll there at the bottom of the screen, manscaped.com. Our code is Calcio. So I encourage you to take advantage of it. 20% off with free shipping. Use our code Calcio, and I promise
and
your
Alex,
balls will thank you.
And don't forget, Alex, do you want your girls, or do you want to be kissed by a guy who shaves with his shaver on his balls? Like, seriously, like when he shaves your balls and
It's a great point.
and then you shave your face, it's like you're kissing his sweaty balls. So, do you want to kiss his sweaty balls, or do you want a clean face that didn't touch his sweaty balls? And the Manscaped can get up your asshole too, because it's nice and small. Like, you can get those hairs that are stuck between you.
He's not wrong, guys. He's not wrong. He's absolutely right about that. So remember, and he's right, because it's nice to have not only to have the different product for upstairs and downstairs. You don't want your girl kissing sweaty balls. That's my motto. Manscaped.com. Check it out. All right, guys, we have a great episode. Hello and welcome in to another episode of the Calcio Connection podcast, connecting with you Italian football fans from all over the world. We just got finished watching Napoli drop 3 points, lose 2-1 against Genoa. Alex Dono alongside Jerry Mancini, welcoming in a first-time guest here to the program. I've been interacting and following this man on Twitter for a long time, and I thought it was way past time to get Dave on. And you guys know him from Calcio Twitter, from Inter Twitter at Forza Inter Haiti. Does a fantastic job. And I know Dave is happy that we're bringing him on after an Inter victory, so we don't have to bitch and complain about everything. How you doing, Dave?
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on. As you know, Dono, I'm a big fan of the show, and I always make sure to tweet at you guys, and especially Jerry, because Jerry, in his colorful language, man, he definitely adds a lot to the show, and I'm glad to be on.
Thanks, man.
We got the head-to-head coming up pretty soon. I mean, Inter and Lazio are on a collision course. I know, Jerry, you're probably focusing on Cagliari for tomorrow. And, for those who are not watching us live, and you may listen to this back, we're recording this on Saturday. So the Cagliari is taking on Lazio on Sunday. I think it's going to be Lazio's 6th straight league win. Like, I think Lazio is going to end up, facing Inter next weekend as the hottest team in Serie A. You guys have really hit your form. Jerry, things have really been coming together for Lazio. He had a tough stretch earlier in the year. What are you guys up to now? 6th place, 5th place? I mean, you're knocking on the door for Champions League now.
I want to say 6th place because we're tied with 3-way tie with Napoli and Atalanta, actually. Because Joseph from Forza Napoli was telling us today, 37 points. And Lazio technically have a game in hand, where Napoli still has a game in hand. It's kind of weird where they still have their makeup game against Juventus, but Lazio haven't played their game yet. But overall, if we were to win come tomorrow, we'll be 3 points ahead of Napoli with their game in hand. And Lazio seemed like they're in the driver's seat all of a sudden, whereas 6 weeks ago, people had counted them out. And before their unbeaten streak and their winning streak, many didn't believe that they can finish in a top 4 spot. I've always been a believer since the beginning of the year that this was a team that did decent in the summer transfer market. Yeah, we didn't get the splashy players like, say, Inter did or Juventus have done in seasons, or your top caliber teams, but I still believe that Lazio still had a decent transfer market, and it's coming all together now in the second half of the season, where it becomes more tighter. Teams second time around also know how you play. They have an advantage because they already had the first meeting. They know what to expect maybe, and you're seeing that teams like Napoli, who are now starting to struggle with form because of how much they've been playing, the competition. And then you have Inter, who's coming a little bit more competition right now compared to Lazio, where in a couple of weeks, Lazio will be on their side, where they'll be playing more because of Champions League, along with Juventus, who also has a very tight schedule. And don't forget, you have Atalanta as well. So the one thing I like that Lazio did during the Coppa Italia, and I think that a lot of teams didn't do, was rotate their squad. Mm-hmm. They did it perfect. Ciro Immobile is not 100%. We got A lot of other players. Correa, I think, only came on as a substitute because he just came back from an injury. You got Luis Alberto, who didn't play because of an injury, but Lucas Leiva was rested. The only players I know that were certainly used was a Cherby, but that guy's made of steel. But overall, I hope that they win tomorrow. After watching Genoa versus Napoli, nothing's guaranteed. This is the new Serie A this year where you don't know what to expect. When I was watching Fiorentina versus Inter yesterday, before Barella scores, it looked like Fiorentina maybe could have stolen a point up until that point. And then the second chance they get in the whole game against Fiorentina, once again, it's Barella, and he scores this time from far distance. So, you know what? It's anybody's game this year. I don't know who to think is going to win the Scudetto. Should it be Milan? Yeah, but we can see Milan dropping points too at any time. So the team you have to watch out for is Juventus, because now they're starting to look much better.
Yeah, that was a clinical performance by Juve, no question. I want to, especially since we have Dave on, I want to start with a review of that Inter victory at Fiorentina. It was interesting playing the game on a Friday. It was actually kind of nice to play it on Friday and to get the win. Had it been a loss, it would have just put a sour taste in my mouth. But to get the victory on a Friday and then get to just enjoy all the games over the weekend that don't involve Inter was actually kind of a relief. But yeah, I mean, we'll kick it off, Dave, with I thought Jerry hit it on the head with Barella. Could have had a goal early in the match. I think it was around the 8th or 9th minute when he had that great scoring chance, and Dragovski just had an awesome save. I mean, I always going to be a little bit of a luck when it's that short distance. But he got his left hand in the exact right place. Barella ends up scoring the opening goal that changed the course of the game. What were your feelings overall coming out of that victory for Inter?
Well, I feel good. I know I like the way the victory was acquired, to be honest. The fact that we didn't have to suffer for it, the fact that the goals came, and of course, we had a couple moments. I could think of the Bonaventura situation where it looked like we were going to concede or whatnot. But for the most part, I'll say I'm very satisfied with the way the guys managed the game. We had to suffer at times because this is a stadium where we haven't won in 4 or 5 years before on Friday. So I'm satisfied. And speaking of Barella, what a player, man! What a player he's becoming. I'm optimistic, but I could have never imagined that year 2 at Inter he would be the guy that we're putting in the conversation to get the badge this year as the best midfielder. So I love this kid. Speaking of the occasion, the first shot that he got. As a midfielder, when you get put in that position, only thing you can ask for is for them to hit the target, and he made the run, he hit the target, but if you wanted to be a little picky, it's like in the middle of the goal, like probably a little left, a little right, then it would have went in. But credit to Dragovski, it was a reflex save, but Barella ended up getting them for a better goal at the end, so I'm happy.
And I got to give Handanovic some credit. Had a couple nice saves in this game as well. I thought it very important to say that because anytime Handanovic screws up, Nerazzurri, myself included, Inter supporters will jump all over the guy because he doesn't have the same sort of reflexes that he used to have, and he's made a lot of errors this year. But Handanovic stood tall in that net in this game, so I couldn't ask for much more from him. Hakimi was good in this match. What's been your take, Dave, on Alexis? Because he's really creative, and he's still he's got some really good chemistry with whoever his strike partner is. I mean, he does a nice job, both with Lautaro and with Lukaku. But you start to get a little bit frustrated when the goal drought for him. The guy just can't seem to score anymore.
Yeah, and to be honest, it not only does it look like he can't seem to score, but it even looks like he's not even looking to score at sometimes because he over dribbles a lot. He holds the ball up. Sometimes he's gotten us in trouble a couple of times. We've conceded because of him holding the ball up, and next thing you know, we suffering a counter. But I got to give him credit, man. He seems to figure it out about as far as Hakimi goes. He times Hakimi's runs perfectly. He was the one that had the hockey assist on the second goal. That was perfect. So as far as Sanchez goes, I'm satisfied with what we're getting out of him, even if it's not really showing up on the stats sheets. It's not assists, it's not goals. You can see him. The guy's all over the pitch. He's coming short to play. It's like an extra midfielder. We're hard to defend when it's like that. He's not stationary. And let's say a center back. The center backs don't want to have to follow him all the way inside the midfield. So he creates for the team. So I'm satisfied with him. I would have loved to get the swap with Dzeko, because as we saw against Juve in midweek, once you don't have that big body and that system to hold up, you can struggle. So I'm happy with Sanchez overall, to answer your question.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And even Ivan Perisic even found a goal in this game, which is it's encouraging, because if you were to have asked me, about a year and a half ago, if Perisic would ever score another goal for Inter, I would have bet my life that he wouldn't. So I was happy to see that as well.
This guy's been so frustrating. He seems to always get in positions on headers, and for some reason he's winning free headers, but he just can't keep it down. But I'm happy he got the tap in. I'm happy he got his goal.
I want to add to that. Hold on. Perisic is not a natural wing back. So I think that sometimes he's at a disadvantage where the way you're asking him to play is not his natural style. It's not his natural way. He's a natural winger, and he's trying to adapt to a new role. And as time progresses, I think that yesterday he looked really good. Like his runs looked much better. He was beating I forgot who was on his side, but he was beating his man one-on-one. He kind of got space down the wing, and I thought that he got some crosses in as well. But at the end of the day, I think he's been a serviceable player down that side compared to what they had last year. So he's been an upgrade, and I think that going to he was with Liverpool last season, right?
Bayern.
Thank you.
He won a treble. I guess he brought that experience back with him, I hope.
Well, that's the thing. I think that since he left last year on loan, and then he came back this year, he looks more confident. He looks more of a renewed player, where he's adding more, and he's also earned the respect of Conte, which is really hard to do. So I think those are a lot of things you have to look into consideration. So that's how I see with Perisic. I take Perisic on Lazio any day, but that's just me. He'd be a massive upgrade.
Jerry, I wanted to get your take on Barella, because we were chatting about him earlier today, and before we get into just kind of the micro effort, from the one game situation against Fiorentina, just in general, and this was something that Dave was talking about, not imagining he would take this much of a leap forward even in his second year at Inter. I watched him a lot at Cagliari, only because he was linked so often to Inter that anytime I was watching Cagliari, I would really zoom in and watch Barella really closely. And I know that one of the common concerns from Interisti at the time when he was signed 2 summers ago was, can this guy provide enough in the final third? Like, can he score goals, right? Because I think his final year at Cagliari, he only had 1 goal. I had a little bit of hope that he could score, because he was already getting call-ups with the Azzurri at that time. He was playing a little bit with the national team, and he had some really quality finish and a couple of nice goals with the Azzurri. So I saw that, and I'm thinking, okay, I think this guy probably can score. I think that there's something that can be developed there. And he's already got, I think, 8 goal contributions this season. He's been pretty lethal in the final third, and the curling finishes that he's had on some occasions are just really impressive. So I hope he's the future captain of Inter. Like, I could see him now. I mean, last year I would have told you Skriniar would have been the next logical choice, but I think Barella at this point would be the logical choice to take the armband after Handanovic, gives that up. And so I think he'd really be the guy. I mean, he just such a well-rounded player. I mean, Inter are so lucky to have this guy. You get the third lung. He's always running. He's always winning tackles. He's got that mentality. And now the quality that he shows in his finishing, I think, is really impressive. But, Jerry, what did you think about his overall game against Fiorentina? Because you were saying that, and obviously he scored the goal that changed the game. But, you maybe thought that he wasn't doing a whole lot in your mind before that.
My mind just drifted off. I was listening the whole time. But, Dave, I like your beard, actually, man. It's so Yo,
coming
Alex,
back a little bit.
no, Alex,
Thank
I'm going off topic here, but I like the beard. It's so nice and trimmed and it's proper. Alex, you should take lessons from him, man.
Thank you.
Me, don't look at me. Don't look at me because I shave every 3 weeks if I could. I haven't bought blades in over like maybe 2 years now. I don't know, man. I hate shaving, period. But like I know Alex tries to get the beard in, and like he had the mustache where he looked like he was supporting November, but But I like your beard, man. It's proper. It's the most proper beard I've seen on this show so far. So it's good, man.
Here to the show.
You hear that? You hear that, Donald? You know,
I'm trying to step my game up. I don't have the tight beard game like Dave has. Like I'll grow it out really long and I'll look like a mountain man. And but yeah, I don't do I need like a Manscaped for my face because I don't have good enough
I think Jerry already warned us about that. You can't use the same one you used down there. Like, come on, Donald. Come on.
I'll get another one that's just for the face.
No, but in regards to Barella, it's actually that he's clean shaven. That's why he's doing really well. But no, but
no, it's the daughters. It's the daughters. You know, I try to tell you guys, but Barella, every time this guy has a new daughter, well, enter players, every time they have a new daughter, they reach another level. You know. I can't prove it yet, but you heard it here first.
Lautaro, didn't he just have a daughter? And like, look how good he's doing, man. Freaking all of a sudden he's back to life. Maybe it's because he was having a kid he was so worried about having his kid that, and when COVID and everything, he wasn't sure. I don't know. Maybe that affected him. You don't know what goes on people's lives. That's one thing. Like, you don't know if Lautaro was having any personal issues with his family stress. That takes a toll on your game, and
most definitely.
Like they were saying this past week, I think he came out as a sub yesterday, right?
Yeah.
They were, and the announcer said it perfect. He's like, it must be long nights because he just had his baby, and like, who knows if he's up until 1 o'clock.
No rest.
There's his whole like schedule's off now, and how he preps for his football games now changes. So these are things that we don't take into consideration. Saying, hey, you know what, man, this guy's human just like us.
I agree.
We look at them differently because we see the dollar sign on their name, but the dollar sign doesn't change their mental health, their health in general, how they live their life, and that's just like he's just one example. But
no, I agree.
But for Barella, he's a special talent. What is he? 22 years old, guys, or 20? 23. Okay, so you got a 23-year-old, and I love when people say, "Well, he's just still 20 years old," and he still needs to adapt. This is a perfect example of that scenario, but not very many transition to that kind of level where he's at in such a short span at the age of 23. I yesterday, I was saying that he was the best box-to-box midfielder this season. I've kind of changed my perspective on this, not because I'm a Lazio fan, because Sergej Milinkovic-Savic has stepped up in the midfield without Luis Alberto. I think that Barella has a little bit more support in that midfield where he has a Vidal, he has a Stefano Sensi that can come off the bench. Who else would you? He's got a Brozovic. There's so much that supports him in that midfield, and I think he has a better supporting cast overall. Whereas Lazio, you take out Luis Alberto, and who's helping Sergej Milinkovic-Savic now? Lucas Leiva is not the same player that he once was, maybe last year or 2 years ago. He's still a great player, and Sergej Milinkovic-Savic, I think, has only missed like 1 or 2 games this year, and that's because of COVID. He's been asked to step up when Luis Alberto had COVID as well, when Lucas Leiva had COVID, and he was relied upon to play heavy minutes. I think he's near 2,000 minutes on the season, and he took extra day of rest this week just to prepare for Cagliari. So there's a reason why he got MVP this past month in January. I thought the video was kind of a slap in the face because it was promoting everything that he came close to scoring a goal, but it didn't show anything that he did productively in the midfield, which was kind of insulting. But that's a whole off topic. I don't want to make this a Sergej Milinkovic-Savic moment because I don't want to be biased, and I want to say that it's neck and neck. It's neck and neck. So
yeah, we can agree. We can agree on that.
As a Lazio fan, I wouldn't be disappointed if Barella won it either, because vice versa was Barella, they wouldn't be winning games. And we had a pod earlier this year with Daniel Lucci, and we both agreed that he is their best player. You take out Barella in that midfield, and I kind of thought a few weeks ago maybe it was Lukaku that is more missed if he's not in the lineup. I kind of switched my mind back.
Hard to decide. Like, it's so hard to decide because
right.
I think, Jerry, about how much Lukaku was missed, against Juventus and Coppa Italia. Hakimi as well, to be fair, was also out for that game. And so, like, it's like that one's neck and neck for me. And I remember we had that pod about a month ago. It was you, me, Lucci, and Joe Fischetti. And somebody brought up the question of who's been the MVP of Inter so far. And Joe and I both said Lukaku, and you and Lucci both said Barella. But it's like, I don't think anybody's wrong there. I think both of those guys are essential.
No, you're right. But I think that at the end of the day, without Barella, there is no attack in that midfield. That's the problem. It becomes too stagnated where there's no flow. When he's not in that lineup, who do you depend on? Brozovic has been too inconsistent. Like, he's lost a step. I think that if Barella is not in the lineup and Christian Eriksen is in the midfield, there's something that you can kind of like say, hey, now we have an attack. We got a game plan where we can advance the ball field. I don't feel like that's the thing with Brozovic. Maybe Sensi can do that too, but I just think that when you look in the back end, Barella is making good defensive plays. In the attack, he can score. He's showing that now. He was denied a goal by an amazing save by Dragowski, but that was just I don't think that was. I think that was just luck a little bit and a little bit of.
It was good positioning.
It was good position. Yeah, I think that's what it was. It went right at him. And I think that by him putting up that arm in very proper form was the ability for him to make that save. But it's Barella. You see everything that's being intertwined in the midfield. It all starts with Barella. God forbid, knock on wood, if that guy ever got hurt. The Inter is dust, man. I don't think they go as productive as they are right now. Like, how many minutes has that guy played? I don't even think he took a game off yet either.
Well, funny you would have mentioned that because last year he got hurt, and then we went on a run of bad results. Like, I think he missed like a month or so, Donald.
Yeah.
And listen, that's when we realized how important this guy was. So I 100% agree with you. And this guy, this connection that he has with Lukaku and also Hakimi on that right side, that's our bread and butter. That's where we attack. I'm sure if we look at some kind of map of our attacks, everything's probably focused on that right side because the left is dead. How many times you see him combine with Hakimi and he's putting in amazing crosses? This kid, man, I don't know. I can't say it enough. And I used to get worried every time he falls because he falls so hard. He's all action, but he pops right up, man. It's like, I'm not even worried anymore. He can get shot in the middle of the field. I'd be like, come on, Nicolo, let's go. Let's go play ball,
Hey,
we're lucky to have him.
What did you think about Hakimi yesterday? Because playing against – okay, so I was talking to Alex on the phone today, and we were discussing about tonight's pod, and I said to him, playing a team like Fiorentina, yes, Inter was really good yesterday. But at the same time, you got to remember that Fiorentina looked very slow. And we actually got to see how fast Inter is against a slow team. And I didn't realize how fast Hakimi is until yesterday. Like,
he's so fast.
Like, he destroyed Igor. I think Igor.
And the thing is, it's like his strides. He takes long strides. He doesn't even look like he's going fast, but you're looking at it, you see him separating,
I just think this guy, Hakimi, was getting criticized too early in the season. And I think a lot of players are being criticized way too often this year. And we're not treating – and I think it's unfair because a lot of these players are not playing in a regular season that they've been in compared to past seasons. There's been a lot of hurdles, obstacles, constraints. And I think next year you'll see the true – form of what these players are like, where they'll be playing a proper schedule of once a week, not 3 times a week, and having to come in late from training and all these variables that make you different. What do you think?
Well,
I mean,
personally,
go ahead, Dave.
To answer your question, because you were asking me about Hakimi, I must admit that I have been a little iffy about his form as of late, because he has had games where you see that he's open because of his pace. That's one thing that you can never take away from him. He's always going to have that open space that he could run into, and when he gets the ball, his decision making has been questionable from time to time. A couple of times, I think it was last match actually. Ericsson had a beautiful ball to him, and instead of just cutting it back to Lukaku, who was wide open, he tried to hit it first at the first post, and he missed it. So that was just an example. The thing with him is the fact that he has the pace. He'll always get a chance to make up for his mistakes, but he makes plenty of mistakes as well. And if we want to be picky and look at Hakimi, several times he gets the ball and he takes a shot when somebody's open, or he picks the wrong option. But thank God for his speed. He's always going to get a chance to make right. And if he gets 1 assist or 1 goal a match, then that's all we need from him. No matter how many mistakes he makes. And I'm super happy. I'm super happy with Hakimi. This is a player that I hope we get to keep, because we see the rumors that Real Madrid wants him back, Chelsea wants him because Inter are broke and stuff like that. So I hope we keep him.
I don't know what.
Well, you know what? I want to get into that actually, since Dave brought it up. I've lost a lot of sleep the last few nights, and it's stupid because this is nothing I can control, right? But when I start to see, this Financial Times report that came out on Thursday or Friday, the headline is Inter Milan owner seeks 200 million in emergency finance. We've been seeing the stories for weeks now. As Inter just came out of an exclusive negotiating period with a hedge fund out of the UK called BC Partners about buying stake in Inter. I mean, the rumors varied from either buying a minority stake or a majority stake, and really buying the club from Suning. And they got out of, and BC Partners apparently are still talking with Inter, but Inter rejected their initial offer. And the problem was that they're so far apart on the valuation. Because I've seen people saying, well, okay, if because Suning has decided Inter are worth at least 900 million euros, and BC Partners only valued it at 750 million euros. So then see people saying, well, okay, if they're far apart on it, just make a partial investment. But no, if the two sides don't agree on the valuation, you can't make any investment, because if let's say, just to make it easier, Suning value Inter at 1 billion, okay? So then if BC Partners evaluate Inter at 750 million, then if they're gonna make a 750 million investment, it's for 75%, or they want 100%. So if you don't agree on the valuation, you can't make any investment. They've got to come to some kind of an agreement on that. And there are other EQT partners are rumored to be in this. Bain Capital out of the United States are rumored to be maybe a part of this. There's I
want the oil money. That's what I want.
I want, and there's a Middle Eastern fund as well. The name of it escapes me, but there's also a rumored Middle Eastern fund. I want oil money, because oil is recession proof, unlike everything else going on right now. So that would be the type of money that I want. But the bottom line, Dave, is, and I want you to weigh in on this, I hope they can come to some kind of an agreement soon. Even if Suning don't need to sell majority stake, if they can stay in control, I would be okay with that in theory, because they've done a lot of good for Inter. They've really helped this club, kind of come out of the banter era over the last few years. I don't want them to have to go, but if they need fresh capital because their own Chinese government is restricting them making any sort of an investment in an overseas product, then unfortunately Suning being in control of Inter is not sustainable, because if they can't invest and they can't even pay salaries, then it's going to be a real problem. So I really think that within the next 3-4 weeks, we need some sort of capital to come in. So I hope they can resolve this problem soon.
Yeah, it's a scary situation to be in, to be honest. And we're kind of like the, what do you call it, the black sheep of Italy. So anything that goes on with Inter is blown out of proportion. So the press are running with the stories. They're rerunning stories from months ago about how Sunni couldn't pay the I think it was the TV rights, something like that. Something that I personally remember reading back in December, not December, back in October. Now they're running it over again. I wish that Sunni could stay in control, because they've shown good intentions. When everything was everything. You've seen sponsors popping up here and there. You've seen the proof is in the numbers. The revenues. We're bridging the gap with Juve at a consistent basis, and the stadium, everything. Sunni was doing what Inter fans would want an owner to be doing, but now that they have their hands tied behind their back, the best thing would be to sell the club responsibly.
Yeah.
And make sure that it's somebody that cares for the club, and it's not somebody that just want to flip it. And make sure that it's somebody that respects the project and will continue it. Because most people are saying that the project failed or whatever. I don't agree. I feel like we're almost there, but we're not quite finished. Because when you look at the left side of the team, we still got a couple of players that were needed for us to say that, okay, the team is complete, go win. But that was kind of long-winded, but that was my way of saying that I hope everything gets resolved within the next couple of weeks, so we could stop hearing rumors and actually focus on the football.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, I want to add on that, Alex. Sorry. Sure. So I don't think it's a failed project personally. Here's the thing. They were going through FFP back in what, 2017, 2016?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 2017. Yeah, I mean, both of those years, actually. They got out of it in 2018.
We got out. Yeah, 2018 we got out. Yeah.
Okay. And Sunni took over the club at what? When it was in 2017.
2016.
So he went through 2 years of downside, of a turmoil time where he had to take them out of the ground and help them. And they were in a deficit, I would assume, because I don't know too much of the history of what had happened in the last decade, but I've written a little bit about it. But I know that there wasn't stability with Inter. They haven't won for almost a decade, and you've gone through like so many managers within that 4-year period, and then players and everything. The outfall with Icardi after happened, but I do agree with you. There's a plan. There is a goal to be achieved here with Inter now. There's an identity, and I was listening to a pod today, and the owner who bought Catania, and he said it perfect of why James Pallotta had failed at Roma versus, say, a guy like Sunni, who hasn't failed at Inter, but at the same time has earned the respect of the fans. And and you said it perfect. With Inter, they're trying to win. They are respecting what the fans want. And when you own a team in Italy, you can't think that you're the owner and you want to fill your pockets with money. It doesn't work like that. When you buy an Italian club, there's a philosophy you're buying. There's an identity that these people have been used to for so many decades that it's not like North American sports where you can buy, say, the Toronto Maple Leafs, and you come in and no one cares if you win or lose. The fans do, but they don't turn on you because tomorrow they're going to show up. That's how just North American sports is. In Italy, there is a culture. There's an identity that these guys want somebody who's going to come in and respect that what they believe in. And that's what Sunni's done here. He's come in and he's shown to the fans that this is how it's going to be. We need to buy players. We need to a product on the field that people are going to like. And that's what he's done. Whereas James Pallotta told the fans to go fuck themselves. Like that you do that, you already want to get shot. Sorry, I shouldn't say that, but you're asking for a lot of bad blood with the fans.
They ran him out of there real quick though.
Yeah, well, he was there for what, a decade almost? Was he not there for a long time?
No, not that long. It was probably only like 5 years or so.
5 years? The worst 5 years of Roma's history, though. They're what, $300 million in debt or something like that?
Well, and the other thing, like when you talk about the differences in owning a North American sports team versus owning an Italian soccer club, which is something Pallotta with the Celtics and then owning Roma, like Well, you learn so quickly about just how difficult it is to clear obstacles in Italy, because Comiso is going through this now in Florence, because you go in there and you're thinking, I've got all this money, I've got all this influence, I'm going to get a stadium built. Like we're using some, shitty public stadium here, and I'm going to do what every American sports team does, and I'm going to build my own privately owned facility, and we're going to increase the club's revenue. And then you get over to Italy, and the bureaucracy is a freaking nightmare, because you can't get anything approved, because anytime you try to get anything through with the local politicians, everything always dies on the vine. Nothing ever passes. And then you get into these situations where you've got this antiquated stadium and they decide, well, you can't tear this down because it's a landmark and you can't move your team. And you just get stuck in quicksand. And people like Pallotta and people like Rocco Comiso are not expecting to run into these problems. And then, of course, the other big thing when you compare, owning a Serie A club to, an NBA team or an NFL team is that, in most of these North American sports, you've got these salary caps and salary floors. So you know exactly what you're able to spend based on your revenue. And it's so much easier to budget, right? And then you get over, to a European football club and you're dealing with, and financial fair play is not the same thing as a salary cap, because it's different compared to how much revenue your club can generate. It's based on a balance sheet. And then it's just so much tougher, because you think, oh, in North American sports, I've got a set budget and I know what's coming in, revenue sharing. And no, it's nothing like that over in Italy. So if it's not like, if your expectation is this is going to be my ATM, right, that I've owned an NBA club and I'm going to come over and run a European football club the same way, you are going to get chased out of town the way that Pallotta was. And it's one of the reasons why, anytime, and of course, what started this conversation is the uncertainty of ownership for Inter. Anytime I see any sort of like an American company or an American hedge linked to Inter, I'm like, please, no. And I know Elliott is doing well with Milan. That's one of the exceptions to the rule, right? Because most American owners, every Manchester United fan I know hates the Glazers so much. So it's like most American owners just do not get well received in Europe. Yeah. Elliott is doing okay right now with Milan, and I'm happy for them, I guess. But as far as Inter, please keep the American owners away. I do not want that for my club.
No, for sure. And I'll go on the topic of Claudio Lotito now. Now, people say that he's cheap, but I don't think it's just that he's cheap. I think that he doesn't want to be in the situation where Roma is in, say, for example, or what Milan was in, and slowly getting back to the Milan days where they're starting to balance their budgets and trying to make their money and all that, what they used to be. But I just think that with Lazio, at least he doesn't overexceed the spending. He understands the budget, and this is a club that was able to pay their players off 2 months in advance, and he bragged about it. And you know what? Good for him. I would brag about that too if I had a financially stable club who's in the top 6 position and is able to pay their players off in such a bad time. And who would have thought that paying off athletes would be a bragging right in today's world? Like that's what it's become. And for me, good for Lotito, because I don't blame him. Sometimes paying $60 million for a player is not always the solution, and many teams have shown that. I'm pretty sure you guys bought who was that guy you guys bought last season for what, 40 million? Lautaro or Lazaro?
Yeah, Valentino. Yeah, Valentino Lazaro.
What did you pay that guy?
40 million, though. It was like 25.
Still, it was like 25, maybe.
25 million, or they're already panicking about Vedat Mariki for 20 million. And imagine having like that kind of guy, 25 million, even more money for Lazio. Like a team like Lazio really needs to be careful on how they spend. Rather err on the side of cheap. Lotito is no fool. Yeah, he is not fool, but at least the club is not in a financial situation.
1,000%. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I do agree. I want Lotito to buy players and to be more competitive, but at the same time, I don't want the club being in a situation where we don't know if there's going to be a tomorrow. And we've seen this with a lot of clubs, and we're seeing that with the top clubs right now, where Roma just spends and thinks it can spend until you kill your club. Juventus is heading that way too. I understand you own Cristiano Ronaldo and you got his marketing. When he's gone, what are you worth after? You're going to lose that market share. You're going to lose that piece of the pie.
He had a lot of salary, though. When he's gone, that's a lot of salary they saved.
And that is a lot of salary. You're right about that. But I just don't agree that you spend so much to think that you win. Look at Milan. Milan's a perfect example. They're not spending a lot of money. They're spending wisely, and they're finding these players for cheap deals, which are equating to something much better than what a lot of people thought they would be. You know what I mean? Like Benacer. How much did Benacer cost? I don't think he cost a lot. And I don't know who else to come off the top of my head. Kalulu. Theo Hernandez. Kalulu. Kalulu was just a young guy, and look, he's already looking promising. These are players that your salad maker, the Michael Lisi's freaking salad prosciutto maker there, but
pizza makers.
Fucking that guy there is like he set a perfect stat that he burned me on. They're unbeaten when he starts. I didn't know that. Like
that guy works his tail off. I mean, watching him, he's not flashy. He doesn't have much quality, but he understands the team. He understands the system. He knows his role in the system, and he excels in it. He doesn't try anything that he can't do. So far, like I don't know how many times you see this guy tracking back to cover for Calabria or whoever his side is on the side with him. I like him. He's a good player. He works hard, and that's why he's thriving. So that's a good coup. That's a good coup for Milan. It's hard for me to admit a lot of things that they're doing, but yes, they're doing a lot of good things on that side.
I just like the teams who don't spend a lot of money and think outside the box and say, hey, why am I going to spend 80 million on such and such? Look at Osimhen. It cost Napoli like 50, 60 million. And I know that it's a small sample size, so I'm not going to critique him, but let's just say it doesn't work out for him. That's a lot of money that you invested in a player to hope that he transitions from the league on to Serie A and hoping that he comes into this league and he produces at that level. Patania, another player who has looked good, who's looked bad, 25 million or 20 million it cost him.
Yes.
You add it up.
So good these days.
You add those two players up, it's almost 70 million, man. It's a lot of money that your team is investing in. You got to think, if they don't do well, how are we going to sell these guys? Are we going to be able to recoup that money in a time right now where no one's buying? Everyone's doing loan deals because they don't want to pay the wages, but they know that no one can buy the player. So there's a lot of loans, but there's not a lot of selling. So, and this is no cheap shot to Napoli because I don't want to be a blind fool and say that Patania or Osimhen are bad because, like I said earlier in the show, it's a different season where we're not accustomed to, and both players have been in and out of the lineup with injuries and unfortunate circumstances, and it's a small sample size. But I'm just using it as an example. But you know what? I'm just happy that my club doesn't have these issues where will they be able to earn money? Will they be able to pay players? Then you got to think about who is going to take over as a team owner. And you said a good point. You want an owner who has a vision and will take over and continue that project that has started that looks like it's promising. So the future does look uncertainty right now for Inter.
The next thing I want to get into, guys, is we started this basically right at the end of Napoli's surprising loss to Genoa 2-1. My guy Goran Pandev, who's like 75 years old, gets a brace in that game. He scores at the 11th minute, the 26th minute for Genoa, capitalizing on errors by Napoli to put Genoa up 2-0. Finally, Politano got one back at the 79th minute, and Napoli were pressing for an equalizer. Maybe they should have gotten a penalty at the end of it, but
they should have. You're right.
Yeah, but still, like the end result is 3 points dropped, a really shocking loss. And I know that some people may have said they saw it coming with everyone Napoli had out, but I still think it was pretty shocking seeing them drop this decision. And I got to ask you guys, is this the end of the road for Gennaro Gattuso? I don't think it should be. And, I don't know if, bringing Benitez in is going to necessarily be a great thing for this side, but there clearly has been a feud behind the scenes now between Gattuso and De Laurentiis. I mean, Gattuso said recently, quote, "I'm being slaughtered in the media every day. It seems like we are second to bottom," he told Sky Italia. "Now we have won, but if I lose the next two, it's up for discussion again," talking about his job. He says, "I've always had a good relationship with De Laurentiis, but I cannot deny that after the last 15, 20 days, there is a bit of disappointment on my part for everything that has happened. Everything was badly managed, in my opinion, full stop." So unfortunately, when a manager is in this type of situation, we've been wondering about this for 2 weeks, guys. And Jerry, you and I talk a lot with our friend Joe from Forza Napoli Pod. So for the last 3-4 weeks, you kind of feel like Gattuso's walking on eggshells, and it's like no matter how many games they win, you feel like the next loss could be the one that gets him sacked. That it's almost like De Laurentiis might be thinking, "I'm just waiting for this team to drop points again, or I'm waiting for Gattuso to lose a game, and then I'm done." Like Jerry, do you think that this might be now? And I don't think it's the right decision. Again, I think they should give him till the end of the season. But could this be the end of the road for Gattuso?
No, I don't think so. I think he was in a difficult situation today. Like, he had a few players out because of COVID. Manolas got hurt during the game. He's got players that are just returning from injury, and he has to really be careful how he uses them. He can't use them for a full game. It was just two bad mistakes in the back end. Maximovic, I think, made the first one where he kind of didn't get the ball and he mistimed or he lost control of it. I don't remember, or is it a bad pass he made?
A bad pass by Maximovic,
okay.
yes.
Okay.
Them couldn't control it.
Yeah, okay, that was it. Thank you. And for me, it's scary now because this is a team that really has a crack in the glass here. Let's just say that there's a crack, and it's starting to break even more. And they look like they're a very fragile team where a loss like this can really hurt them going forward. And I said this last week. I'm happy that Lazio didn't make it to the next round of the Coppa Italia. And this was the reason why. Because look how much they're playing now. They're playing again this week on Tuesday, I believe. And then they go this weekend again to play. Then the week after, they start Europa League. They go back to the league. They go to Europa League.
I think they got Juve this week too, right? Right after the Copa, right? No.
I think you're right.
I think he is right.
Yeah. Wow. See what I mean?
So Atalanta and Juve.
Yeah.
And the problem with the Europa League is they play an extra 2 games. So if they're to advance to the next round, into the round of 16, they're gonna play right after 2 more games because during the first round of the Champions League, there are an additional 2 legs of Europa League in that span as well. So that's an extra 2 games that people are not looking at if Napoli or Roma as well are to advance. But that's why I didn't want Lazio to go through, and now Napoli's heading in that direction. You're seeing that their squad, I know that they have depth in their squad, but I haven't seen the depth being used this year, and squad rotation was the biggest downfall to Gattuso, where he should have maybe used different players in Coppa Italia and not focus on every single cup. And I think that's the problem here, whereas Lazio did that 2 years ago, where they put all their eggs in one basket everywhere, and it hurt them. And injuries started to compile. They didn't have the depth on the bench, and I'm seeing that with Napoli right now. But given the circumstances as well, COVID having helped them as well. So
yeah,
I don't think this is Gattuso's fault, but it's he can win the next 5 games in a row, and I still think he's done regardless, because
at the end of the year, yeah,
not even end of the year. I think even before then, because
really?
there's just too much friction in the office, and if De Laurentiis is not going to talk to Gattuso, say, and Gattuso doesn't talk to Laurentiis, and there's a lot of mutiny and friction, and I think that the ego is always going to be in the way, and he's going to pull the plug and say, you know what, you're out the door. I don't give a shit. This is what it is. Yeah, like that. Gattuso knows already that the writing's on the wall. He knows that it's either now or at the end of the season. And he's probably saying that I'm gone before the end of the season. So I'm going to do – that's why he's doing the 3-4-3. He's doing like the rotation. He's trying everything to see, you know what? I'm going to just try everything. I got nothing to lose now. Exactly. He's got nothing to lose because he knows that within 3 or 4 games he's gone. And bringing Benitez – and here's another problem I don't like now. This hurts. So they spent all this money to buy players, Napoli, right? You're going backwards again. You got rid of Ancelotti. Now you got rid of, say, Gattuso. You got rid of Sarri before Ancelotti. There's no continuity here. There isn't a foundation, a philosophy where they're able to keep a manager long term and say, this is what we're going to go for the next 3-4 years. This is what we're going to set out to do. Yeah, you have a bad season. That's fine. You go to the next season now. Like, you can't just have he saved his team last year and now he's getting shit on. Well, what's the next manager? The same thing.
They need to get our guy Spalletti in there. That's who they need.
Yeah, most definitely. With the squad that they have, I think with those wingers, that would be ideal for Spalletti. But to answer the question, Donald, I think that it may be it for him if they lose next week to Juve, because when you think about it, like they spent money. Because personally, when they went and spent 60 million on Osimhen, I was convinced that they were going to sell Koulibaly to pretty much offset that, and they ended up keeping them. So that's money that they spent that I guess they had other players that they had sold that the money it added up at the end of the day. But I say that to say this: De Laurentiis, he's investing in the team for a reason. And the fact that you keep losing to teams like Genoa, and they have too many bumps on the road that you cannot explain. And when you look at the rosters, you see that they create plenty of shots on goal. That's been them since the Sarri days. That hasn't changed much. Ancelotti, same thing. They create plenty, but they can't seem to score. So I think that if a guy like Allegri or Spalletti is available, I'm not a big fan of Benitez.
Neither am I.
But those two, I think that you just have to do it, because I personally thought that they would be the main team with Inter of course to be challenging, but I've been disappointed so far. So somebody's got to pay for it.
Yeah. So I want to go over a couple more results from Saturday in Serie A. Like, is there even I want to get to this one first before we get to the most shocking result. But I don't even know if I have a whole lot to say about Juventus 2-0 victory over Roma, because that was really that was a vintage Juventus performance. That was the type of performance you got accustomed to during the Allegri era. Certainly not during the Sarri era, and certainly not during the Pirlo era this year. And Pirlo's learning on the job. Like, we know that. The guy has no coaching experience whatsoever prior to this season. You're going to expect bumpy results. Tactically, I thought he got it all wrong against Inter a couple of weeks ago. Maybe he learned from that, because they've been on very good form ever since, and they did get one back against Inter in Coppa Italia, because I thought that the way Juventus played in this game, the way that they were willing to absorb Roma's pressure. Roma, I thought Fonseca didn't really approach this one right, because Roma are so vulnerable to counterattacks, and they played perfectly into Juve's strength in making the pay in that way. Cristiano Ronaldo scoring, an own goal was the second one, and really that came after Roma was threatening and pressing for much of the second half, and they deserve more from this game. You could argue that. You could argue that they deserve to get an equalizer, because they created a lot of chances in the second half. But then when you overextend trying to find the game-tying goal, that allowed Juve to find the soft spot. So this was an Allegri-like performance, and it's a reminder that Juventus, who are now back in third, they jump Roma with this result, and they have the game in hand. This team is not going away anytime soon. And, Dave, Jerry, and I have talked a lot since before this season started, making our Scudetto picks and all that. Of course, I'd love to see Inter win it, and it's very important for them, given their financial situation, to try and get it this year. But I still favor Juventus. I think Juventus are going to figure it out enough to probably grind it out at the end of the day. So what do you think about that, and what did you think about their performance today?
Well, the performance today was actually quite impressive, in my opinion, because It was mature. They were compact, like you said. Well, I was just looking at the stats. They only had 3 shots on target the whole game, and they scored 2. And in the second half, they didn't have any shots on target at all. I'm saying that because it seems like they've discovered that old Juve way of just win, baby. Fino alla fine, whatever they say. But it looked like they were there. They knew that the chances were gonna come. They let Roma hold the ball. Roma created a lot, a lot of passing, a lot of here and there, but you haven't seen anything dangerous. I don't think that you could say that, oh my God, what a chance that Roma created. They should have scored on this one. It seems like there were blocks here and there every single time. So Juve had a shape. They kept their shape. They frustrated Roma, it seemed, and when they got they shot. They got a guy that is one of the best in the world still, and he doesn't need 3 or 4 chances to hurt you, and he did that. And as far as the second goal, my boy Kulusevski,
the Swedish fish, you call him.
The Swedish fish, I used to call him. This guy, man, his talent. I really love him. He made a beautiful run. Of course, he was trying to cut it back, but that run is what created the goal. He's dangerous player, man. He's a very dangerous player. But Juve in general, to talk about the Scudetto race, I think it would be disrespectful. Well, it was disrespectful to count them out when they were struggling. They've won it 9 times in a row for a reason. And by default, just out of respect, they should be the favorites. But personally, if I had to say it, I'll say I have Inter finishing first. I have Juve the second. I have Milan my third, and fourth is I change that every week, man. But my fourth right now, I'm going to stick with Lazio, just for my boy Jerry.
and to pick up on that real quick, Jerry, before you cut in, you guys know I spent a lot of time perusing the sports books, and that's actually the order. I'm not sure about fourth because it's hard to even say that there's a fourth contender for the Scudetto, but I know the Scudetto odds on the sports books are in that exact order. That Inter are the betting favorite. I think they're plus 125 or plus 150. I'm staying very far away from that because I'm not paying attention on that. Like Inter are the favorites. I think it's around plus 150, and then Juventus is either plus 200 or plus 250. Milan is plus 300. So that's the exact way the sports books have it. But Jerry, what did you think about Juventus this morning?
I thought they're starting to look much better. That's 100%. They're moving the ball much better. They look more cohesive. The midfield looks much more stable. I'm not a believer on Arthur still. I know I get chewed on by our friend Lucci. He's a big believer, Arthur. I think the one thing that I want to be more convinced about is can Arthur make those long passes? Can he? I understand he makes the side passes. He passes back. But I noticed in the second half, he was playing more deeper towards his net. And I was trying to find out why is he playing so deep and not so much more forward? Isn't he the attacking midfielder who's supposed to be generating the play around him? And that's something I don't see too often. I know that his pass accuracy rate was around 89% today, but people have to look into how many of those passes. Yeah, what are those passes? They're short passes. They're not long passes, and that's something that this team has been missing for so long. Is that long pass, that down the wing, down the middle, and for me, that's what's missing for Juventus. I don't want to hit on Arthur. It's a small sample size, so I don't want to be very judgmental on him. He's been slowly integrated into the lineup. I saw a tweet today where someone had mentioned Tolucci, and it was a good point. I don't think it was Arthur's bad form of why he was playing so little at the beginning. It's the fact that they were trying to ease him into Juventus's system and just slowly integrating him into the actual lineup. I personally do agree with this tweet. It's not that he was bad or the thing with Arthur is, and a lot of people, this is why he kind of was always down the pecking order in La Liga, is that his fitness level is very poor. That's and I saw he made a bad pass today. He took a yellow card. His defensive game is so bad that I wonder if they made him play so deep in the back because he was on a yellow and they didn't want him to concede a second yellow, because if he plays high and when he tries to track back, he's very vulnerable. And that's his downfall to his game, where his defensive side, his athleticism is really poor. I think that he can make the pass that is needed. He just needs to be more confident. That's just the way I look at him and his game. There are spurts where he looks really good, and there were spurts where I saw him, like I say, give a poor pass, which led to a chance for Roma today. So Roma sucks. I'm sorry. I don't give a crap. I know that they're my rival, but they just
and Jerry, and also, you had the stat today on social media. How bad have they been against the top six? They still haven't gotten a victory. I mean, they got draws against Milan and Inter, and I still have huge regrets about that draw, because Inter should have closed out that game. And when Milan drew with them, they were missing a ton of guys, including Ibra and Donnarumma, and that was like a weird officiating game. As well. There were a lot of officiating mistakes in that game back in the day. But outside of that, and Roma did have a draw with Juventus as well, the first matchup, but they haven't gotten any wins against these sides.
No, they haven't. And they had, 11 or 12 attempts on net today. And they had one converted target, like one on target. Like you got to do better with your 11 chances. If you're controlling the play of the game and you can't score against the best teams, they got a clean sheet against Juventus now. They didn't get a goal against Juventus. They didn't get a goal against Lazio. They were lucky to get Inter. I don't know. That's because Handanovic had a shit game that day. But anyways,
and Conte botched it with his subs in that game.
I will give you that. He did. But this is a Roma side that just can't beat the top teams because they're not a top team. They've overachieved. Like, yeah, you can beat every team that is from, say, 9th and down or 10th down. They can't beat Verona and they can't beat Sassuolo. Like, Joseph from Forza Napoli podcast put a better tweet than I did, where I didn't even know they lost to Sassuolo as well. Or they tied them. They tied them, sorry, 0-0, that's right. Yeah. But
I think they got embarrassed by Napoli, right? Like, it was 4-0 or something like that.
Well, that was right after Maradona died. So they, they could have had the greatest Roma squad ever, and they weren't going to win that game.
Yeah.
I just not convinced with Roma. I said from the beginning of the year, I had them finishing 8th or 9th, Alex, I said.
Yeah.
And I stand by that, where I don't think they're a good team. They have a lot of flaws. Kumbula didn't look good today. That's 20 million, big investment. People are saying Lazio should go buy him, but how do you invest 20 million a 20-year-old that you who had one good season? Ramani, what's his name? The guy from Napoli, Rachmani. Okay, he's got potential, but when he's played in the lineup,
you're talking about Kumbula. Kumbula.
I'm going both. I'm going with just Hellas Verona players.
Oh, now. Okay, sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm going side topic, but they made a lot of money on players who were one-season wonders, and we don't know if they're gonna be able to go forward for another 5 good seasons. That's a big risk of 20 million on a player who had one good year. You gotta give me something more concrete. And I think Iguitardi did a good job here, where he didn't bite the bullet and say, hey, we're gonna buy this guy for 25 million because of his one good year with Verona. I know that Inzaghi wanted him, but maybe Tadi was onto something where, okay, maybe there is a reason why we don't need to buy Kumbula. So, to me, it was good business. But overall, Juventus just looks better. They got 2 clean sheets in Serie A, something to look at as well. Chiellini looks like the old self.
He was excellent.
Yes.
As much as I hate Juventus, I don't wish bad on players and what they have to go through to recover. Yeah, maybe he's a Juventus player, but he's a damn good freaking defender, and good for him that he's been able to get back to the level that he was playing so well at prior to his injury, and now that he's in form, he looks like the old Chiellini before he got hurt. He looks better than Bonucci, and Bonucci hasn't even been hurt as bad as he has.
Oh yeah,
Like that's sad. Okay,
miles better.
Yeah,
Miles.
Bonucci is so shit. How the fuck does that guy still get playing time? I don't understand. That guy there is so fucking garbage. He is the raunch of fucking. I think if Juventus decided, if Juventus decides the rest of the year, let Bonucci be the cheerleader on the sideline, and you let Demiral, you let Dalit, you let Collini play the back three, let them do what they got to do, and whoever else they want in that back three. Quadrado, I'm okay with him too. I thought he was decent today when he came out as a sub. Don't put Bonucci on. That guy's a liability. He gives you from 100% chance to winning to a 50% chance of winning. That's what he does. Like, he's ferocious, man. I think he got away with a foul today too, if I recall, with an elbow.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
You're guaranteed a yellow card from that guy per game, and the question is, we don't know where it's going to happen.
I want to go over one more result, and I almost regret saving this one for last because I know this is really going to get Jerry going. Drama in Bergamo today, okay? So Atalanta, and these are the best times.
Hold on. I want to add. I got one. Hold on. Fuck Gasparini. Did you see who scored for Sevilla today? Did you see my boy Papu? Hey, Papu!
They could have used him today, I think, Atalanta. So Atalanta, and Jerry, this is and Dave, this is the best thing about being on social media, like watching this unfold during a Calcio game. So Atalanta, they get 3 quick goals to go ahead, right? Ilicic scoring early. Muriel makes it 3-0 in the 21st minute. And the entire timeline is just a giant orgy of Atalanta support. Like, oh my God, this team is incredible. Look what Atalanta is doing. They're going to beat Torino 8-0 by the time this game is over. And they're not even missing Papu Gomez. Who screw that guy. Gasperini is God's gift to coaching. And then they go on to give up 3 unanswered. Belotti, who I'm always happy to see him perform, and I hope he gets the hell out of Torino because he deserves better. And Bonazzoli ends up scoring in the 84th minute, very dramatic, to get the 3-3 draw. I'm going to break it down in simple terms with Atalanta because people don't seem to understand this. Everyone overreacts to a great performance and a terrible performance. Atalanta, it's very clear to me, when this team is putting together a top-level performance, they are capable of not only beating, but embarrassing anyone in Serie A. That includes Juventus, that includes Inter, that includes Milan, that includes Lazio, Napoli. When Atalanta are in top form, they are capable of putting on an absolute show, right? And that's what gets people so hot and bothered because they know what they're capable of. But the squad is not consistent enough and they're not deep enough. So they are capable not only of embarrassing the top clubs, they are also capable of dropping points like they did today against an awful Torino side. I don't know why it's so hard for people to figure out that Atalanta are not consistent. Because it seems like every time Atalanta have a great game and they blow out a good team, it's like, are they coming for the Scudetto? No, they're not coming for the Scudetto. They might end up finishing top 4, as they've done the last couple of years. I'm not going to put that could still be very well within their grasp this season. But people always try to make this team a Scudetto contender. Unfortunately, when you have to rely on the lack of depth that they have, and everyone's so impressed with what they can do with a very low payroll, and I give Gasperini credit for that, obviously, but when you've got so many young players who are on, cheap wages, unfortunately, you're going to get the consistency you pay for. They're capable of doing great things. Gasperini's system is wonderful, but you cannot expect them to perform at those levels over the course of a 38-game league season. And then you also throw in Champions League for them the last couple of years, and they keep advancing, which is good for them, but then that also thins out their squad for Serie A. So people need to accept the fact that this is who Atalanta is. They're capable of reaching top 4. They're capable of putting together virtuoso performances, but you cannot expect them to really contend for a Scudetto because you don't know from week to week what version of Atalanta is going to step up.
Yep.
I agree with you, man. That's I've been saying that Atalanta, they're a good team, but at the same time, they're shit. Like they're like I just don't. I've never rated them. I'm sorry. I don't care if you can score 6 goals every week. Trying to win by outscoring your opponent, like that's the point of the game. I understand, but to outscore with 6 goals, 5 goals, it just becomes unrealistic. Okay, I didn't get to watch the game today, so I was shooting out tweets today, not knowing what the fuck happened in the game. Okay, let's just get this straight. I was at work till 12. I just got home on time, half tired watching Roma versus Juve, and people are like saying, you know that Papu Gomez, like Frank's right. I know he's not a defender. I credit Frank 100%. He called me on my tweet, but my tweet is that I tweeted out that they without Papu Gomez they're not better, but I don't like how Papu's been shit on, and this guy helped them so much to win games, to make them a better team, and all of a sudden he leaves and it's like, oh, Papu, without Papu they're fine. They've always been fine. I know that Gasperini's done a good job with this team, but it doesn't change my opinion. He's a piece of shit. Gasperini is the biggest piece of shit that this. Oh my god, like it's terrible. Can't imagine if this guy coached Roma, how much more I would hate him. But like I just think that
Gasperini nearly did a couple years ago. He nearly went to Roma before Fonseca got there.
Oh wow, that would have been awesome because we would have seen Roma. Actually, that's not awesome because then who knows what? You know what? Who knows? Because Gasperini has the backing of the ownership at Atalanta, whereas Roma didn't have an identity, nothing. So he probably would have hit the ground hard, knowing how things have gone, like, and
also like in Rome, especially in Roma, because and Jerry, and I know that you know this, that when it comes to like media coverage, Roma gets 5 times what Lazio gets. Like that's the bigger pressure cooker, is being the manager of Roma, and we saw Gasperini when he's gotten a chance at and of course like. When he was at Inter, the state of the club, it was banter era, so you couldn't expect him to get Mourinho-like results. But still, the pressure of the media on Inter, I thought, was too much for him. And Roma is a weird pressure cooker compared to basically anywhere else in Italy. I think that he might have been crushed in that pressure there.
Well, I just don't think Atalanta has the depth that everybody talks about. Like when they were playing Lazio on a back-to-back, I kind of saw that. The first game they lost was not because Atalanta had beaten Lazio because they were better. They beat them because Lazio beat themselves. That's how they lost the game. And then they followed up in the second game and destroyed them. And I get that Gosens wasn't in the lineup, and I get that Hateboer wasn't in the lineup. But I thought Atalanta was so good that we got these players that can come in. Like, if you're going to talk so hype, so like big about Atalanta and say that they're the best team, they got all these players. So you should not have a problem winning games. And I'm not going to call out people on who has called out about Atalanta and they're the best thing. I'm very happy for the fans because of what they have gone through. So I will not wish anything bad against the fans because the fans haven't disrespected me. But when you have a manager who is a dickhead and insults Lazio after the game, saying that we're second to them, and then our assistant manager has to say, or however you call it, Inzaghi's associate Ferris says, "Well, we got the Coppa Italia right now at the Formello." It's like, you want to talk a big talk, we'll back it up too. Don't worry. And just I'm going side topic here, but I'll go back on course. Atalanta is just not a good team. Toloi is shit. Tolloi's shit. I'm sorry. I didn't like him against Lazio when I watched the game. I think he's slow, out of position, overcommits too high like Cherby does, and he can't run back. So he's a liability. And then you got Palomino. Palomino's a fat, lazy piece of crap. Lazy crap. Guy's, oh, God, he's terrible. Oh, it's an embarrassment that guy still plays in the back three. And I honestly think Atalanta's defense makes Romero look better than what he is, maybe. I don't know. I'm surprised he's having a good season, to be honest.
Well, real quick, on Atalanta, I think the thing is what they built their brand on and their success is that mentality of us against the world, the whole underdog situation. And that's been a couple of years now. So the shtick is kind of getting old. And now teams are circling Atalanta on their calendars, so it's a pressure that they're not used to dealing with. They get up for big games when they know that the Inters, the Juves are coming. I'm sure Gasperini has all types of bulletin board material for his players to be motivated, but they don't care about Torino, especially after being up 3-0. And what they scored their goals within the first 15 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. So at the end of the day, they thought that it was gonna be a walk in the park. And in sports, sometimes once you've switched off, you cannot switch it back on, especially if the other team smells blood. So I kind of saw that goal coming, because when you look at the stats, it's not like Torino created 3 chances and scored 3 goals. Torino had many more shots on goal. I don't remember the numbers up top, but I'm pretty sure they had many more shots on goal than Atalanta. So they built, they created, and then they got a fair result. But Atalanta, I think they're gonna be fine. I think they will be in the conversation for top 4, but they're probably not gonna get it. But I think they could get a Europa spot for sure. Because on their day, they're as good as anybody on the team and in the league. So it's a matter of how many times it's going to be their day, how many times they're going to be motivated or whatnot.
So there's one more thing I want to close the episode on this note, even though I don't want to take Jerry's focus away from Cagliari. I think Lazio is going to win that game. And also for Dave and I, we still have Juventus coming up midweek in the Coppa Italia. But still, since we have 2 Interisti and a Laziale here on the panel, I want predictions from everybody on Inter hosting Lazio next week. This is a really tough one for me because I could see any possible result. I think it's going to be a close game. I don't think either team's going to run away with it. I could see a 1-goal victory for either side. I could absolutely see a draw. That was the result they had earlier this year. The midfield battle here, I think, is going to be epic, especially with the form Barella has been in. I hope we get good Vidal and not bad Vidal. We certainly know what SMS and Luis Alberto are capable of for Lazio. I think this game could be like won and lost based on the wing backs, right? Because Hakimi on the right side for Inter, Lazzari on the right side for Lazio. Both, I could see like an assist or a goal for either or both of those guys in the game. So this is going to be really good. I might even straddle the fence here and say 1-1 draw. I'm kind of hoping for like a late Lukaku goal to get a 2-1 for Inter, but I think it's going to be something like that, man. I think it could be a 2-1 for Inter, a tight game, or a 1-1. What do you think, Dave?
Well, personally, if I have to go with my mind, then personally, yes, I'll say 1-1 would be the fair result when you look at Lazio's form and Inter's form as well. And the thing is, Lazio are the hottest team in the league, like you're saying, and they're probably going to destroy Cagliari tomorrow. So that's going to be more steam, more wind at their back. And then the thing about Lazio is they're not scared of anybody. So they're going to come. They're going to come to San Siro and they're going to try to beat us. So I can see anything happening, but more what I feel the most is a draw. It's a 1-1 draw. Now, if we want to talk about what I wish, I just wish we destroy them, and then I could come back on and make fun of Jerry. But let's see what happens.
And also, I can't wait to see the dirty looks between Vidal and Ciro Immobile, because they got into it in the last game, and then Ciro didn't Ciro slap him?
Yeah, it got set off. Yes.
What do you think, Jerry?
I think that Lazio's is at an advantage this week because Juventus plays Inter, and I think that Inter is going to go all in that match. Because,
and by the way, I kind of hope they don't. I know, and Conte is going to go all in, but it's like, man, you need a 2-goal victory to get that to move forward after a disappointing result this past week. I don't know. If it were me, I'd rest some bodies, but I don't think Conte is going to do that.
Yeah.
I just think it's not just Conte. You also have to think about the players. Do the players want to sit back and just lose against Juventus? I don't think so.
No.
I think they're going to go all in as well. You have to think about, as a player, do you want to lose on Wednesday in a Coppa Italia semifinal versus Juventus? I think the Inter is going to go all in. They're going to have Lukaku back for that match, which he missed the last game.
Hakimi as well.
Hakimi's back. And I think Hakimi was the biggest loss versus Juventus, not Lukaku in that case. And I'll only say one reason is his speed can make a big difference down that wing. a guy like Lukaku should. Yeah, you want him to, but you have Lautaro and you have Sanchez. Where who was it that scored? It was Lautaro that scored in that game.
Lautaro,
Yeah. So he did what he had to score a goal, and so that wasn't the issue. The issue was two stupid mistakes that led them to the loss. I think that Juventus could be breaking down versus Inter. We saw that in the first meeting before this, where it was pure domination from Inter. So I don't see why they can't win that game. If I'm Lazio, I would rest Manuel Lazzari and Ciro Immobile tomorrow because both are not 100%. And this is the game where Inter is coming up next Sunday. I know that you want the full 3 points and you want to be in the top 4 after this weekend. I say you put Vedat Mariki in up front with Correa, and you go with the guy who's shown to score 2 goals against Atalanta, maybe even a third if you want to count Parma, and he's starting to show his form. Take the hot streak. He's showing that he can play right now. Put him in against a Cagliari side that is struggling for form and just can't win right now. And then you got Manuel Lazzari, who's not 100%, who's been overused. You shift Merisic onto the right side, and I would use Sena Lulic tomorrow and put him on the left. If they say that he's ready and he's healthy, this is a game that you bring him in. You bring him for 45 minutes, and you bring Manuel Lazzari in for 45 minutes, or you bring Fades if you don't want to start Lulic. That's another option. I just think that these are players that you need to think about. Do you want to risk injury to Immobile and you bring them off the bench if worse comes to worse, because you want them ready against Inter next weekend. And if that's how I would approach. And now Lazio's in an advantage, and I think that Lazio can win this game with the form they're showing.
Is Luis Alberto out? Yes.
No, he's back. They're back. He's back. Lazio have most of their players back, and I can't see why. You know what? I'll go with the 1-1 draw, but I wouldn't be surprised if Lazio were to win this game. I wouldn't shock me. They've looked much better against the top 6 teams than they have against the bottom 6 teams.
That's true.
That's how stupid this team is. They put in very good performances against Atalanta twice, where they should have won the first one in the second game of the year, but they had injuries to start the year, and they didn't bury their chances. They were dominant against Roma. They were probably the better team against Juventus, but they lacked quality in the final third, but came at the end. Against Inter, I thought they played pretty decent, considering that they had lost 2 center backs in that game and had to
They got down to 10 men in the game and actually played really well down to 10.
And they reverted to Marco Parolo as a center back. So they beat Napoli 2-0. They came close to being Milan, where they played really good. They should have had the win. So I think that this is a game that they need to take advantage. And if Inter actually goes 120 minutes, I'll say 100%. I'll say 70% that Lazio will probably win the game. Hold on, my last point. Whatever happens on Wednesday, and if it does go into extra time, I think Lazio wins the game. If Inter concedes early and they're losing 3-0, I think that Inter can steal the points because they're already tapped out and they're already looking forward to the next game. So Wednesday's game basically decides how Inter will approach their following game. I think that's basically how you should look at it, maybe.
I could see that. And we'll wrap up on that note. Huge thanks to Dave. For those watching, you can see the Twitter handle. For those listening, it's at Forza Inter Haiti. And it's nice, by the way, to get a fellow South Floridian on because Dave and I are both even though he's a Jets fan and I'm a Dolphins fan, we can still.
Giants.
Oh, I'm sorry. What? Oh, I screwed that up. But my apologies, man. You know what? I like you better. Baby, you're a Knicks fan. Is that right?
Yes, Knicks fan. All New York sports. Right?
Okay.
Knicks fan. Oh, God bless you, man. The Knicks.
I know, man.
When was the last time they were good, man?
Not in my lifetime.
Fuck, it's like being an Oilers fan. I'm an Oilers fan in the NHL, man.
You see? So you can relate.
Yeah.
Oh, can I relate? Oh, God. I've seen playoffs once. Once in the last 13 years. I missed 2006 when we went to the Stanley Cup Finals. God damn it. One goal away. Oh,
man.
God, don't remind me.
Well, guys, thank you very much for having me. It was really a pleasure. I really had a great time. I didn't even see the time go.
I know it goes
I
by
had a
so
great time.
fast. And every time we do one of these, I say, "Oh, we're going to keep it within an hour." Then it ends up 90 minutes, 2 hours. It's all
for real.
so. Make sure you guys and Dave is a really good follow on Twitter. Whether you're an Inter supporter or not, I think any Calcio supporter would appreciate at Forza Inter Haiti. Jerry Mancini as well. You can follow at jmancini8. Jerry, you writing anything this week? You pumping out 30 stories?
I got a match preview. I actually have to tweet out now. I forgot, but I have like 9 articles pending that I have in my computer, and I'm actually going. Believe it or not, I'm actually going to write a Roma piece, and it's going to be on. I haven't got to it. It's been in the back files for the last 6 months, but I've wanted to do one on what's his name, the guy who just retired. It's a big
De Rossi?
Yeah, I want to do an article on De Rossi. I want to get an interview perspective from Stevens from
Steve Chavillo.
Steve Chavillo. Yeah, I've been talking to him, and I want to get his perspective on him. And that's one guy I respect as a Lazio fan of him, his time with Roma. And I know that the Ultras, the Gouverneur, did something very nice when he retired, and like they had like a banner for him. I know it was a mixed opinion about it, but I don't think he's ever been disrespectful to Lazio as Totti was, whereas Totti was a pure piece of crap to us, and he did that cell phone celebration, piece of shit. But I'll always love him for winning a World Cup, but I'll always hate him for being a Roma fan and being a piece of shit. But that comes with the whole gig. But yeah, I got a piece I'm writing on Vedat Mariki and how he's starting to turn it around with Lazio.
Nice. Well, good stuff. You guys can follow me at Alex Dono. And obviously, if you're here, you already know about Calcio Connection. You can check out my shows at Onside Radio as well. And hey, make sure you follow Calcio Connection on Twitter at CalcioConPod. And I know that you may be watching this on YouTube. If you're watching it, you want to make sure you subscribe to our audio podcast. Just search for Calcio Connection on any of the podcast platforms. Subscribe, leave a 5-star rating. And if you are listening to this, you know that you can catch the video replays on YouTube, or you can even watch the shows live. And it's sporadic. We don't always have a set time. When we decided to go, we go. So you can watch them live, or you can check it out at our YouTube channel. Just search for Calcio Connection. So again, huge thanks to Dave. Huge thanks to Jerry. We'll talk to you guys next time on another episode of the Calcio Connection podcast. Ciao.